Hello there, welcome back to my channel. It's Antoinette here, and I'm doing a hashtag for hashtag shadowself. And this one is is Rochelle at Amethyst Ascension, whose video I watched doing this, and she was replying to somebody at Stories, Law and More. And I also discovered it on Eries Witch channel, so also VR to Courtney, who does it whilst she's doing a flip through of a tarot deck, which I can't do because that's far too complicated for my mind to work out how to flip through a deck, pause and talk about them, and then fit this tag into it. So I take my hat off to her. So if anyone else wants to do that, please go ahead and see her channel and see how she did it beautifully with the Macabre Tarot. But I'm just going to do it this way. It's 5 prompts. So hello Max, coming to join me. So prompt number 1, which persona archetype helps me identify or reminds me of myself when I'm doing shadow work? So I've had a look and I've decided, so how do I fit into the tarot? Like, where am I? And I've always, this card from the Bonefire Tarot, the Judgment. I understand this card. I can see all those kind of ghosts and demons, experiences, past, things that we've done in the history of our past, you know, all coming back to haunt you, that sort of haunting feeling. And that, you know, when you go to bed at night and you sit and you think for hours and hours on end, and it just all replays back through your mind, and it just, you can't switch off. It sort of has that feeling to me. It's almost like, you know, her lights are projecting her day onto the ceiling above her, and she's watching it all sort of unfolding. Yeah, so this is the card that I think is my shadow self. That is something I do, like, you know, going over and over things, and how can I have done it better? How can I do it differently? Kind of judging myself really more than anyone else. But the truth is, I've probably done it as best as I could. I dealt with it in the moment as best as I could, and I should just let that go and drop it. But I'm always trying to look to improve and, you know, not find myself in those situations again, because it's usually they're icky and we don't like them. So that's my kind of archetype card that reminds me when I'm doing shadow work. And it's, as I said, this is the Mass Market Bonefire Tarot, and it's this particular Judgment card that speaks the most to me. One of the other ones being a Gemini, so I love the like kind of bright airy feels to this one. It's got the yin and yang personality to it, you know, we've got like 2 sides to the coin, almost, so to speak, for me in this card. So that's another one that I feel represents me. Even when I'm in a bad mood, this would be my shadow to my bad mood, you know, trying to come out, trying to be sarcastic, trying to make me see things with a more light-hearted feel. So very much 2 sides to the coin, this or this. So that's another interesting thing that I was discovering while I was doing this. And what causes all of that is, of course, for any of us, is trying to be in control of a situation. If situations are out of our control, that becomes our shadow self, but that brings out my judgment on myself. So it's being out of control that makes me want to control things, or need to control things, and then start questioning and judging why I can't control them. So that is my archetype. How do you use tarot for shadow work? Well, I use it to dive into who I am. So we've had a little bit of a story there with the Bonefire Tarot. So that is years of doing, kind of pulling cards and seeing what comes out and how things kind of answer for me. There is a defensiveness spread, which is from the 365 Days of Tarot by Sasha Graham. And this one has a couple of prompts in it. So what pushes my button? What do I really like about myself? What helps me accept my imperfections? What helps me be honest with myself? How can I respond rather than react? What helps me to see other people's perspectives? And what am I afraid of? So I thought that's one way of using tarot to look into your shadow self and to improve yourself. And then how do I personally know when I need shadow work? So when I'm having an extreme explosion of feelings, that's when I know. When I have like a real kind of power moment. So can't show you the wording, but when I have like one of those moments, WTAF, that's when I know I need to do a little bit of checking in with myself. Why am I being triggered so? And why am I not in control of my own emotions? What's pushing my buttons? when I'm doing shadow work, I do use different decks. So you can see here from my pictures, this one I've used the Dark Angels, Triumph Illustrated, Alice in Wonderland, Oracle, Triumph Alice in Wonderland. I've used Tower of the She. Generally I'll pick up any deck, but this is this is the one that I use to really deep dive. This is what surprised me. Didn't realise this was going to be a shadow work deck, and it turned out to be, because this little book, the perspective of the little book and the cards is what did it. So by using this book, I was able to unlock parts of myself that I didn't really realise or just didn't realise, genuinely did not realise, hadn't acknowledged, couldn't see. And this is the deck that helped me to do that. The images are gorgeous on this deck. It's not particularly what I would call a shadow work deck, although some people would, because they find it a bit kind of death and macabre. But like for instance, we have the Justice here. We'll just have a look and see what the book says. Oops, so it's been a while since I've done shadow work. Excuse me. It's been a while since I've done shadow work, and it'll be interesting to see, because I haven't pulled this deck out for a little while actually. I think because I kind of like did so much at the time. Justice, so fairness and truth. You are aware that your decision and action have led to your present state. Through lessons of the past to lessons in the near future, your every step is guided by choice. Both good and bad have weighed in on your journey. Armed with confidence and strength, Justice walks tall on her search for truth. The arrow points the way forward. The pole arm cuts the trail through the brush. Stings and bites are the hardships along the way of seeing the truth in others. Learning of your own inner truth makes it easier to see the truth in others and to judge objectively. So there, I think just the broadened term on justice for me, that's like one example of just how this deck sort of opened up my mind to recognising things about myself, and also accepting things about myself and not being so judgmental. So back to my judgment card, just not being so hard and judgmental on myself, and taking it easier on who I am. So prompt number 4, share a spread you use or created for shadow work. I haven't created a spread for shadow work, so I've used 3651 for, what do we call that one? The defensiveness spread. That's one way of using a spread for shadow work. Then I have the shadow work by Lisa Papez. So prompt number 1, and this is, if you go to her YouTube channel, this is Learn to Read Tarot and lesson number 5, and it's a simple shadow work. And card number 1 is observe. What do I need to notice? Card number 2 is own, integrating or owning this issue. Number 3 is change. How do I change or create a change to move forwards? And then you can put an oracle card down as guidance to close. Now this is a 3, possibly 4 card spread. You can see from my picture it's a lot bigger than that for me, because while I was answering the questions, more cards flew out. And that's how I've chosen to do it. And then I used one of the Alice in Wonderland cards here to create another spread, so gaining a deeper perspective. So this was like a day after this one. So I've done this, I've thought on it, I've mulled it over, now I want to get a deeper perspective. So I pulled out an Alice card, and then I've used that card to create my prompts. So I've got what's going on. So it's always tea time repetition. And then off my tea time card, I've got what is it that keeps recycling or cycling back and repeating? What is that pattern? And then that gave me the 9 of Wands. And then I've asked, how can I move on from this repetitive pattern? And then we've got the 3 of Coins. So that is a shadow, or potentially 2 ways of using or creating shadow. So maybe I created that one, but with help. And then this one obviously was Lisa Papez, and the other one was from Sasha Graham. I haven't actually looked at the spreads in the Hush Tarot. There's probably some spreads in that one that you can use, but I haven't actually genuinely looked. And then name a shadow archetype in a movie or a book and give a rundown of the character. So there's an English story or English, oh God, I can't think what I'm calling it, series called Lucifer. And it's about Lucifer Morningstar. I found it really, really funny. It was him, although this female, it's just representation of Lucifer. And how he kind of epitomized, like, giving you what you desire, but still showing his weakness for mankind and his shadow self. So his shadow self was almost his weakness for mankind, whilst being who he is, who he innately is, giving you what you desire. Equally showing you your shadow self, what you desire, and what, bringing out the worst in you, or your shadow self, or allowing you to express that side of you that you keep hidden. So that was the character in that. And I had one other character I was going to talk about, but I don't have any really interesting kind of cards to go with it, but it was the Crow. So Eric Draven in the Crow, he becomes kind of justice or judgment even in the Crow, and that becomes his kind of shadow character for the whole of it. And he goes out and exacts revenge on the people that killed him and his fiancée. A year later, he's kind of, resurrected, for anyone that knows that. It's really, really my favourite love story. And the saying, "It can't rain all the time," is one of my favourite sayings. The film is so old, I can't remember the last time I watched it, probably about 15, 20 years ago. But it's just an all-time classic favourite. So if you haven't seen The Crow, I think there are 3 or 4 parts out to it now, but you need to start with the first one, the original. And I believe that had Brandon Lee in the original. And there was a sad story that went with the film as well, actually. So, but it's a very well-made film. Creepy, dark, gothic, great storyline. So that's the story of Eric Draven and his shadow self, exacting the archetypes of justice and judgment on people. Because he's looking for justice. In order to exact justice, there's that element of just judgment, isn't there? So I think sometimes they go hand in hand, which would be why it's my shadow self, because one of my birth cards is justice. But not justice in the form of exacting justice, justice as in fairness, equality, truth. So yeah, that is my answers to that one. So I hope you enjoyed this ramble through the hashtag shadow self. I do look forward to hearing what you all have to say and think about it, and what decks you maybe pull out or spreads that you do, or hearing about your journal processes when you do these. As I say, not all of mine goes into these journals that you see, because that will go into just one where I just write, literally write and write and write, and there's nothing interesting to see there or share, because it will just be rambling. But yeah, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.